Why the Buddha said your mind is your worst enemy. Hello everyone, and welcome to Zen Buddhism Wisdom, your sanctuary for deep insights into Buddhist teachings and the art of inner peace. Have you ever felt trapped in an endless cycle of stress, anxiety, or self-doubt, no matter how hard you try to change your circumstances? What if I told you that the real battle isn't with the outside world, but within your own mind? The Buddha once revealed a profound truth: the mind is everything. What you think, you become. Yet, for many of us, the mind is not a place of peace. It is a battlefield, filled with fears, illusions, and self-imposed suffering. But here's the most powerful realization: your mind is not your enemy, it is simply untrained. Just like a wild horse, if left untamed, it runs in every direction, dragging you with it. However, with the right guidance, that same mind can become your greatest ally, leading you toward wisdom, serenity, and liberation. In today's discussion, we will uncover the hidden mechanisms that cause the mind to create suffering, explore the Buddha's timeless teachings on mastering our thoughts, and, most importantly, learn how to reclaim control over our inner world. Stay with me until the end, because I will share a powerful Buddhist parable, one that may completely change the way you see your own mind. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss profound insights on mindfulness, enlightenment, and spiritual transformation. Now, are you ready to unlock the secrets of a calm and focused mind? Let's begin. The human mind is a storyteller, ceaselessly weaving narratives about the world around us. However, the stories it constructs are not always rooted in reality. In fact, many of them are deeply flawed, shaped by ingrained cognitive distortions that lead to suffering, anxiety, and disillusionment. Modern psychology has extensively studied these distortions, demonstrating how they cloud our judgment, fuel irrational fears, and create self-imposed limitations. From a Buddhist perspective, these distortions are not just mental errors but manifestations of avidya, ignorance, which keeps us trapped in the cycle of suffering, or samsara. One of the most insidious distortions of the mind is the negativity bias, an evolutionary relic from a time when survival depended on constant vigilance for threats. This bias causes individuals to focus disproportionately on negative experiences while overlooking the positive. In the past, this bias may have been useful in evading predators or surviving natural disasters, but in the modern world, it often leads to chronic stress, self-doubt, and an inability to appreciate the present moment. Buddhist teachings encourage practitioners to counteract this bias through mindfulness, sati, and gratitude, catanutta, which cultivate awareness of reality as it is, rather than how fear and habit shape it. Consider the historical case of Emperor Ashoka, one of the most powerful rulers in Indian history. Early in his reign, he was known for his ruthlessness, engaging in brutal wars to expand his empire. However, after witnessing the immense suffering caused by his conquest of Kalinga, he experienced a profound psychological transformation. His mind, previously dominated by power and conquest, was suddenly confronted with the impermanence, anicca, and futility of violence. Ashoka's cognitive distortions, his belief in the necessity of war for security and glory, were shattered. He turned to Buddhism, embracing non-violence, ahimsa, and seeking equanimity instead of control. His story illustrates how the mind, when left unchecked, can justify suffering in the name of desire, but when trained, can become a force for peace and wisdom. Another distortion, known as the spotlight effect, causes individuals to overestimate how much others notice and judge them. This illusion fuels social anxiety, leading people to act based on imagined scrutiny rather than reality. Buddhist philosophy teaches that this obsession with self-image is rooted in the delusion of a fixed self, atta. The Buddha explained that the self is not a singular, unchanging entity but a fluid combination of thoughts, emotions, and bodily processes. By internalizing this wisdom, one can liberate themselves from the prison of self-consciousness. The 20th century Zen master Shunryu Suzuki often reminded his students, "You are perfect as you are, and you can use a little improvement." This paradoxical statement reveals the middle path, to accept oneself fully while remaining open to growth, without being shackled by the illusion of external judgment. Catastrophizing, another common distortion, leads the mind to expect the worst possible outcomes. This phenomenon is deeply tied to the Buddhist concept of suffering, dukkha, as it magnifies pain by projecting it endlessly into the future. The historical case of the Zen master Hakuin illustrates how overcoming this distortion can lead to profound peace. When a village girl falsely accused him of being the father of her child, he simply responded, "Is that so?" Instead of reacting with fear or anger, he remained detached from the illusion of control over how others perceived him. Later, when the truth was revealed, he maintained the same equanimous attitude. This ability to remain unshaken in the face of falsehood and turmoil exemplifies the Buddhist path, seeing reality without the distorting lens of fear and ego. The illusion of control is perhaps the most deeply ingrained of all distortions. Humans crave certainty, seeking to manipulate life's unpredictable currents to fit their desires. This compulsion is evident in both personal struggles and historical events. Take, for example, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher whose meditations echo many Buddhist teachings. Despite his immense power, he understood the futility of trying to control the external world. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His wisdom aligns with the Buddha's teachings on equanimity, acceptance of impermanence, and the understanding that suffering arises when we resist reality. To break free from these illusions, Buddhism prescribes the cultivation of right view, samadhi, and mindfulness. By training the mind to observe its own patterns without attachment, one can begin to dismantle the cognitive distortions that lead to suffering. Meditation acts as a mirror, reflecting the mind's tendencies without judgment, allowing individuals to see through the illusions they have constructed. In this way, the mind, once an enemy, becomes an ally on the path to liberation. Fear is the shadow that lurks in the recesses of the mind, whispering tales of disaster, loss, and suffering. It is an architect of illusion, constructing walls where none exist, weaving stories of catastrophe from the threads of uncertainty. The Buddha understood fear not as an inherent enemy but as a product of ignorance, an illusion that arises when we cling to impermanent things or misunderstand the true nature of reality. In many ways, fear is the mind's greatest deception, paralyzing us with thoughts that may never materialize, trapping us in a cycle of avoidance and anxiety. Throughout history, fear has shaped civilizations, dictated decisions, and driven individuals to both great and terrible actions. Consider the case of Prince Siddhartha himself before he became the Buddha. Born into a life of privilege, his father, King Suddhodana, sought to shield him from all suffering, fearing that the sight of pain and death would lead him away from his royal destiny. But this attempt to control the unknown was futile. The moment Siddhartha stepped beyond the palace walls and encountered old age, sickness, and death, his illusions shattered. He realized that true fear was not in seeing suffering but in living in ignorance of it. This revelation set him on his path to enlightenment. The story teaches us a profound truth: avoiding fear does not eliminate it, only wisdom can dissolve its power. One of the most gripping examples of fear's paralyzing grip is seen in the story of the 13th century Japanese Zen master Dogen. As a young monk, Dogen struggled with an overwhelming existential fear: if all things are impermanent, what is the meaning of life? This relentless anxiety haunted him until he traveled to China in search of deeper understanding. There, under the guidance of his teacher, he learned that fear is born from clinging to life, to self-identity, to the illusion of permanence. Upon this realization, he wrote, "To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things." Dogen's insight was revolutionary. Fear exists only when we cling to the self as something separate from the flow of existence. By dissolving the illusion of separation, fear loses its power. Psychology confirms this Buddhist wisdom. The mind's tendency to overestimate threats and underestimate its own resilience is well documented. Fear of failure, rejection, and uncertainty often holds people back, despite the fact that most fears never materialize. In the 20th century, psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, discovered this truth firsthand. Imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, he witnessed how those who succumbed to fear lost their will to live, while those who found meaning, even in suffering, transcended their circumstances. Frankl wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." His philosophy, deeply aligned with Buddhist teachings, suggests that fear is not an external force but an internal reaction. It can be conquered not by controlling the world but by mastering the mind. The illusion of fear also manifests in our modern world. Fear of the future, fear of loss, fear of failure, these are not physical dangers but projections of the mind. The ancient samurai warriors of Japan understood this well. Before battle, they practiced Mushin no Shin, mind without mind, a state of pure awareness, free from hesitation or fear. They knew that fear was not in the battle itself but in the anticipation of suffering. This practice is strikingly similar to Buddhist meditation, which trains the mind to remain present, dissolving fear's grip. The Buddha offered a simple yet profound antidote to fear, wisdom and equanimity. When we see the true nature of things, that all phenomena are impermanent, that suffering is born from attachment, and that the self is an illusion, fear begins to fade. Like the Zen master's lesson by the lake, fear is nothing more than ripples on the water. If we allow them to settle, clarity returns, and we see the world as it truly is, free from illusion, free from fear. The mind, left untamed, is a relentless storm, one moment calm, the next raging with desire, fear, and confusion. But within this very turbulence lies the key to liberation. The Noble Eightfold Path, a profound roadmap gifted by the Buddha, is not merely a philosophy but a lived experience, a transformative practice that has illuminated the way for countless seekers across centuries. To master the mind is not to suppress its nature, but to understand it so deeply that its illusions lose their grip. History is rich with examples of individuals who have harnessed the mind's power through this path. Consider the legendary Indian Emperor Ashoka, once a ruthless conqueror known for his violent campaigns. After witnessing the unimaginable suffering wrought by his ambitions, he turned to Buddhism, seeking redemption. Through the Eightfold Path, he not only transformed himself but also reshaped an entire civilization, establishing hospitals, promoting nonviolence, and spreading the Dharma across Asia. His journey from a tyrant enslaved by his mind to a ruler governed by wisdom is a testament to the path's power. To see reality as it truly is, this is the first step. But how does one achieve this when the mind, conditioned by years of desires, fears, and biases, distorts everything it perceives? The story of Bodhidharma, the monk who brought Zen Buddhism to China, is illustrative. When he arrived at the Shaolin monastery, the monks were preoccupied with rituals but lacked true insight. Bodhidharma sat in meditation for 9 years, facing a wall in complete stillness. His message was clear: True understanding is not found in words or rituals, but in direct experience. Only by piercing through illusion can one grasp the essence of reality. Our intentions shape the world we create within. A mind consumed by selfish desires breeds suffering, while one aligned with compassion and wisdom leads to peace. Take the case of the Dalai Lama, who, despite losing his homeland, harbors no hatred. Instead, he spreads a message of love and resilience, proving that even in exile, the mind can remain unshaken. Right intention is the architect of destiny, molding the path ahead with the quality of our inner resolve. Words are not mere sounds, they are vibrations that shape reality. In ancient India, the Buddha himself used speech as a tool of transformation. When faced with the violent brigand Angulimala, a murderer feared across the land. The Buddha did not wield a sword but the power of truth. He spoke with clarity and kindness, and in doing so, disarmed not just Angulimala's weapons but his very mind, leading him to renounce violence and walk the path of peace. Right speech is not simply about refraining from lies, it is about using words as a force of healing, understanding, and wisdom. The mind is disciplined not just through thought but through action. A true master of the mind does not merely meditate in solitude but embodies wisdom in every step. Consider Thich Quang Duc, the Vietnamese monk who, in 1963, self-immolated in protest against oppression, not as an act of anger, but as a demonstration of unwavering moral conviction. His stillness amid the flames became an immortal symbol of right action, action born from profound inner peace rather than impulsive reaction. What we do for a living is not separate from our spiritual path. The samurai of feudal Japan followed Bushido, a code of honor deeply influenced by Zen Buddhism, emphasizing integrity, discipline, and duty. Their approach to livelihood was not about wealth but about mastery and service. Likewise, in today's world, whether one is a teacher, artist, or scientist, the principle remains the same. Right livelihood means aligning one's work with ethical integrity and a higher purpose. Effort is the fuel that propels the journey. But effort, when misdirected, becomes struggle. A striking example comes from the story of Milarepa, Tibet's greatest yogi. In his youth, he used black magic to harm those who wronged his family. But later, filled with remorse, he sought redemption. Through years of relentless meditation and austere practice, he transformed his mind from a weapon of destruction into a beacon of enlightenment. Right effort is not about exhausting oneself but about channeling energy wisely, towards growth, healing, and inner peace. The wandering mind is the root of suffering. Mindfulness is the practice of anchoring oneself in the present. The story of the tea master Sen-no Rikyu illustrates this beautifully. When a samurai challenged him to a duel, he responded not with fear but with mindfulness. He calmly prepared tea, pouring every ounce of awareness into the simple act. Seeing this, the samurai recognized true mastery, not in swordplay, but in presence. Right mindfulness is the antidote to distraction, the art of fully living in each moment. The final step is the ability to focus the mind, to cultivate deep states of meditation where the self dissolves, and truth reveals itself. This is the state achieved by the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, an unwavering concentration that led to enlightenment. In neuroscience, this corresponds to heightened states of brain coherence, where deep meditative absorption rewires neural pathways, dissolving fear and ego-driven illusions. Right concentration is not just about sitting in silence, it is about training the mind to see beyond the veils of illusion. The Noble Eightfold Path is not a doctrine but a way of being. Each step refines the mind, polishes perception, and reveals deeper layers of truth. It is the journey from blindness to clarity, from bondage to liberation. Those who have walked it, be it Ashoka, Dogen, Milarepa, or countless unnamed seekers, serve as living proof of its power. Mastering the mind is not about controlling it forcefully, but about guiding it with wisdom. The storm does not need to be silenced, only understood. When that happens, the mind ceases to be an enemy and becomes the greatest ally on the path to awakening. Imagine a life where your mind no longer controls you with fear, doubt, or endless cravings. Instead, you wake up each day with clarity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of peace. This is not just an idea, it is a reality that countless Buddhist masters have achieved, and so can you. Now is the time to reclaim your inner power. Begin by observing your thoughts without attachment, by practicing mindfulness in every action, and by embracing wisdom over illusion. Even the smallest step, pausing before reacting, letting go of a lingering worry, or sitting in quiet meditation, can shift the course of your life. Which step will you take today? Let us know in the comments below. We are building a community of seekers. A space where wisdom is shared, and transformation is possible. If this teaching resonated with you, subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom and join us on this journey of awakening. Like this video, share it with those who seek peace, and let's cultivate a world where the mind is no longer a prison, but a gateway to enlightenment. True freedom begins within. Let's walk this path together.